What's happening is these kids that are going to Texas A&M and they were promised $1.5 million and they were promised a check every single month, they're no longer getting that check. Maybe the first month, 2, 3 to 4 months, they were getting that check, but out of nowhere it stopped. And they're like, hey, what's going on? You promised me X amount of money. I knew this was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. Now, whoa. Hold on. I know what you're sitting there saying. Yo, Matt, what in the crap are you talking about? Well, my friend, I'm glad you asked that question. Let's just say we're having some problems with the NIL, aka the name, image, and likeness. What are those said problems, you may ask? Well, it has a lot to do with some of these players aren't getting the money that they were promised and guaranteed. I think it goes without being said, that's going to stir up some problems. How does that saying go? It's something like, you can mess with a lot of things in this life, but you can't mess with a man's money. Is that even a saying, or did I just make that up on the fly? I don't know, but you get what I'm trying to say. I got a juicy one for you guys and girls today, and I'm so curious. Watch this video all the way through and let me know your thoughts down below. More than likely, we're going to have to make a part 2 to this, and some of the best comments I see, we're going to talk about them in the next one. Like I said in the intro though, I'm not shocked by this because it was only a matter of time. What have I told you guys? What have I preached to you time after time after time? Money runs the world. And college, my friends, is one of the biggest and one of the best businesses in the world, and so is college football. Just like with anything in this life, when I say money runs the world, that can be a good thing. However, it can also be a bad thing. We're going to talk all about that, and also we have 2 other minor topics to talk about, and I don't even know if you can say they're minor. One of those being Jalen Carter, Georgia's star defensive player. He's getting a lot of backlash because of his character. I talked a little bit about that in one of yesterday's video, and also we got to bring up what CJ Stroud is saying about his wide receiver. One of his wide receivers has been getting a lot of criticism, and he stuck up for him. I, for one, like it. Like I said, it's going to be a jam-packed video per usual, and as most of you know, we're on the road to 260K before Christmas. Look, it's rather simple. If you want to be a part of the best college football community in this channel, we have some awesome people that always comment, like, watch the videos, consider joining. If not, that's cool too. All right, Matt, blah, blah, blah. Shut up, grab up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Actually, you know what? My apologies. We're going to have to hold off on the CJ Stroud conversation topic until later tonight because, number one, that's going to be a long topic itself, and number 2, this video is already going to be way too long without talking about it. So I do apologize for that. Let's get into the Jalen Carter situation. For those of you that don't know, Jalen Carter is this human being you're seeing on your screen right here. The dude's a monster. He's going to be a top 5 NFL draft pick. Some people think he could possibly be a number 2 or maybe number 1 pick. I don't know about all of that, but for Georgia this season, oh man, if you ain't seen this dude play and paid attention to him, the dude's a flat out monster on the field. I mean, the guy's just insane. I was watching some film on him this morning, and I can't believe, look, you see the guy, he's big and strong, but he's also sneaky athletic. Like, the dude's kind of fast, and that doesn't make sense because a guy that size shouldn't be that fast. I think a great comparison is Zion Williamson. Y'all all know Zion Williamson. He's an outstanding basketball player. The dude doesn't look like he should be that fast, quick, and athletic, but he is. That's the same thing with Jalen Carter. Anyways, getting straight into this, last night we talked about how Todd McShay said about a day or 2 ago that Jalen Carter out of nowhere has quote-unquote character issues. In last night's video, I told you I don't know where that came from. I even made a couple of texts and phone calls to people around the Georgia football team, and they also told me they don't understand that. I didn't think we'd talk about this anymore, but however, here we are. Today, Todd McShay doubled down on that statement this morning and brought up the same stuff. He basically said, long story short, on national television that he's an outstanding player, but he doesn't check off the boxes when it comes to the intangibles. Long story short, Todd McShay is saying that he is going to be a problem off the field. Not on the field, but off the field. And let me emphasize this. He hasn't just brought this up once randomly. He's talked about this for 2 to 3 straight days. I personally don't get this. I've heard this from nobody else. And the only thing you could even point to and say it was a quote-unquote character issue is before the Missouri game, he was trash talking with some of the Missouri players. But that's not a character issue. There is a big, and I mean a big difference from quote-unquote character issues and trash talking before a game. The way Todd McShay is trying to make this sound, and I'm not playing, and he's the one hyping this up, is almost like Jalen Carter's living a double life. He's trying to make it seem like Jalen Carter after football practice is going out here and robbing banks with a ski mask. Here's the last thing I'm going to say about it, and these aren't even my words, but I couldn't said it any better myself. If you're going to bring character issues to the table, you best cite true, factual examples, especially when it comes to a person's livelihood and future. I agree 100% because the difference from Jalen Carter being drafted in the top 4 or 5, whereas say he's drafted in the 20s or 30s because of these character issues, is about $7 to $8 million. Me personally, I think Todd McShay is blowing smoke. I just think he's trying to make something up to talk about, but I could be wrong. I guess we'll have to wait and see. If you know anything about this, please, and I mean please, fill us in the comment section. But finally, moving on to the main topic of the main encore, the main reason you clicked onto this video, we gotta talk about the NIL. Oh man, the good old name, image, and likeness. I would say about 50% of the people like it, and I'd say the other 50 don't. And ironically enough, it's the same thing with the transfer portal. About half the people like the portal, about the other half don't. And why it is so fascinating, at least in my humble opinion, is you can make a good case and argument for either side. Alright, I can't wait any longer. We're just diving straight into it. Let me read you off this tweet, and yeah, it's got everybody talking. And by the way, just so you know, this isn't from some troll account on Twitter. This is from a person who works for ESPN. I do want to clarify that because a lot of people may not know who this is, so I do want to let you know this isn't a troll. This is an ESPN college analyst, so he does this stuff for a living. He knows. He tweeted out, "I'm hearing that some talented college teams are starting to crack because NIL payments are not being made on time, NIL promises not kept, or jealousy among teammates. Not a valid judgment on NIL, it's just human nature, the quote-unquote new normal." And I agree with that last part, but I'll talk about that in just a second. Or actually, I'll talk about it right now. When he says the new normal, that's 100% right. People fighting over money where they said, oh, you said you're going to pay me this, then you paid me that. Oh, you said you're going to give me this, then you gave me that. That is the new normal. That's human nature. It's the same thing with life. It's why we see people get sued all the time. Check out this reply. "I miss the old college football. No transfer portal, no NIL, no leaving early for NFL, bowl games that meant something, and kids that wanted to play in them." That got over 100 likes, and somebody responded, "Yes, you miss athletes getting taken advantage of." Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, what do y'all think about that? I don't think the first person who tweeted out, the Tennessee fan obviously, meant that he missed literally athletes getting taken advantage of. It's more so of, and I see where he's coming from, back in not even the old days, but 10, 15, 20 years ago, every single game of college football mattered. There wasn't none of this bull crap where these players are opting out of games. There wasn't any of this, oh, well, I'll go to your school if you give me $2 million because Alabama's only going to give me $1.5 million. There wasn't none of this, oh, well, I'm not the starting running back, I'm going to leave and I don't have to sit out. I can't even say back in the day, it's more so of back around 6 to 7 years ago. If you didn't win the starting position, instead of crying about it and transferring to USC, you had to battle it out, get better, and win the starting job next season. But nowadays, there's none of that, and I can't fault the players because why would you want to sit for a season? Go somewhere where you can play right away. But at the same time, we're not teaching these kids that in life, you're not always going to get what you want. You got to earn it. Getting back on topic with this NIL mess that's going on, some of you may be confused, so let me explain. Just like this comment says, "I don't understand how universities have anything to do with NIL. Is that not the fault of the private companies who made the deal?" You see, that's where a lot of people are misinformed on this and they're way out of the loop. Yes, that's what the NIL was originally and intentionally made for. Let's say, for example, Bryce Young, he's a quarterback at Alabama, and let's say that Beats, they sponsor Bryce Young. They go up to him and say, "Hey, Bryce, we'll give you $400,000, $500,000 if you want to be a sponsored athlete." Yes, that is what the NIL is made for. Not is made for, was made for. You get what I'm trying to say. It was for these big time brands, car companies, whatever, to sponsor these athletes, and that's how they're supposed to get the money. However, and I'll use Texas A&M for example, you got people abusing this, and it's not even cheating. It's just a loophole in the system. I'm going to try to dumb this down in the simplest way as possible so you can understand. Just like your comment says right here, private companies. So companies, any company out there, they can sponsor Bryce Young. Any company out there, they can sponsor a Texas A&M athlete. So what happened over the summer is, and it's going to continue to happen, is at Texas A&M, you got these multi-millionaire alumni and whatnot. They're just making these companies out of nowhere. You see where I'm starting to go with this. Let's say an alumni for Texas A&M, he's got $100 million. Well, to get a kid to go there and give him $2 million legally, quote unquote, he's going to open up a coffee shop. And then that player is going to be sponsored by that quote unquote JJ's coffee shop. But in reality, it's just kind of money laundering. Hopefully that made sense, but I'll give you an even greater example. For those of you that don't know, Nick Saban owns a ton of Mercedes-Benz dealerships. So for example, let's say when Saban was recruiting Bryce Young, he says, "Okay, Bryce, I'll give you $2 million to come to Alabama, but technically I can't pay you the money, so the check is going to go through Mercedes-Benz dealership. And we're going to label you as a sponsored athlete by Mercedes-Benz." The money still came from Nick Saban, but it just went through the dealership. That's the name on the check. That's how these schools like Texas A&M got all of these 5-star recruits. Technically, the university didn't pay them, but they really did. It's just through all these private companies and so on, so on. Getting back on track here with this original comment stating these NIL payments are not being made on time and the promises are not being kept. What's going on? I can't remember who it was, but I was talking to somebody about 2 or 3 months ago, and they were telling me about this, how it was ongoing. It was a new recruit coming into the SEC. I'm not even going to tell you who he is, what team he plays for, what was his ranking coming out of high school, because I know you guys, you'll find him and you'll blow him up. And I can't even think of his name right now. I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, I remember the conversation. And I remember him telling me that at the end of the year, a lot of these guys that went to these schools for these quote-unquote NIL deals, they're not going to be there any longer because these deals aren't what they were promised to be. I remember talking about it and I was like, yeah, I mean, you should have saw this coming, because with these NIL deals being so sleazy, shady, and under the table, there's nothing going to be made official. There's not going to be lawyers and stuff like that involved. And when I say no lawyers, actually there will be. But for example, these companies that are lending out these millions of dollars, they got all the lawyers in the world. But these kids that are 18, they don't have lawyers on staff. I'm not going to dive into all of that. That's a complicated mess. Long story short, what's happening is these kids that are going to Texas A&M that were promised $1.5 million, and they were also promised to receive a check every single month, they're not getting that check. Maybe the first month, 2, 3 to 4 months, they were getting that check, but out of nowhere it stopped. And they're like, hey, what's going on? You promised me X amount of money. It'd be the equivalent to, let's say, Texas A&M, we'll just use an even number. They promised one guy, let's just say Chris Marshall, who's a 5-star recruit, $1 million, and every single month he gets $100K on the 15th. He gets paid once a month, and on the 15th of every single month, $100,000 hits his bank account. And that $100,000, it hit the first couple months. It hit in practice in the summer, and it hit in August and September. But then in November, when he wasn't really playing that much or his production, it was slacking, that money didn't hit his account. And he noticed on the 15th, hey, that money didn't go into my account. Maybe it's a glitch. And then he checked on the 16th, wasn't there. The 17th wasn't there. And the 18th, it wasn't there. So what is any human going to do when they're not getting paid? They're going to hit up whoever's supposed to pay him and say, hey, where's my money? And what's happening is a lot of these companies, they're either A, not responding, or B, telling them tough luck. And I know what some of you are going to try to say, Matt, there's no way they're going to be that shady, not pay the guy. And yeah, I hate to inform you, if you think that doesn't happen, not just in college football with these players, but in business life, you're out of your mind. These big corporations in business, they scam people out of millions of dollars. They don't care to break the rules. And that's what's happening. And these companies are telling these 18, 19-year-old kids, hey, what are you going to do about it? Sue me? You're not going to win that. Why else do you think 22, let me repeat this number, 22 Texas A&M players have entered the portal? Yeah, it's fair to say a lot of them are leaving because the program wasn't good, but a lot of these guys that entered the portal, they're from this #1 recruiting class. Whoa. Hold on. I also know what you're about to say. Well, Matt, if they weren't getting paid in these NIL deals, they were broken, why aren't they speaking up about it? That's a great question. I have a great answer. It's called NDA. For those of you that don't know what an NDA is, it's a non-disclosure agreement. All these players for A&M that signed these $1 million deals, every single one of them had to sign NDAs, which means they can't speak up about it or anything, or else they're getting sued. Let me make this clear. Number one, I knew this stuff would happen. And number two, I kind of figured it was already ongoing about 2 or 3 months ago. But now I guess it's all just getting leaked down and coming to light to the public. And oh yeah, I forgot to bring this up, but it's also weird because these players were promising these boosters they were going to stay there for like minimum 2 years, 3 years and go to the NFL, but now they're leaving early. So these investors, boosters, they're not getting a return on their investment either. And with all these players leaving, it just gives the boosters another reason to say, hey, since you did leave, we don't even have to pay you. It's an insane domino effect that we could talk about for hours. That's how deep this goes. This video was already way too long, and I don't try to make long videos, but sometimes they gotta be long just so you can explain everything. I expect to talk about this more in the up and coming days. Let me know your thoughts down below. But